GoldFish Report number 65, the Pleiadian interview. With COBRA and Idris. November 11, 2016. Louisa, hello everyone, welcome to the GoldFish Report. I am your co-host Louisa. And joining me today from our GoldFish Report team is Steve, and our host, the ambassador of the Red Dragon family. Today's report, titled The Pleiadian Interview, features COBRA, from the Resistance Movement, and Idris, from New Lyra. Both gentlemen have revealed they are Pleiadian, one was born here on Earth and one was not. Their background has been published in previous GoldFish reports and on COBRA's blog and previous interviews. This Pleiadian interview is meant to provide insight into who these gentlemen are in the context of where they are from in each of their unique ways. So, thank you for joining us and welcome back, I should say, to the GoldFish Report. Steve will ask the first question. Steve, COBRA, is the election connected in any way to the update? COBRA, not directly. What I would say is that the Archons have engineered this election situation to override and divide the people in the United States. And they are attempting to expand that polarization as much as possible. Steve, will they succeed in your mind with the polarization? COBRA, they will succeed to a certain point, but the light forces are working 24 hours a day to calm people down and refocus them. And to focus on something else and not just the elections, because those elections are not the most important thing in the world. Neither Trump or Hillary Clinton are the most important people in the planetary situation. They are not the key players at all behind the scenes. The key players are pulling the strings. Louisa, there have been reports that George Soros is behind all the protests going on in the U.S. COBRA, yes, he is definitely involved. Louisa, right, because this is disgraceful what I am seeing people doing in the U.S. right now, and it is not characteristic of how we handle elections at all. But let's just go to the WikiLeaks releases where Julian Assange said that Trump won't be permitted to be president. What do you think he is talking about there? COBRA, the cabal has a very strong plan to tamper with the elections to the point where Hillary Clinton would be elected, and the story is still not over completely yet. If you follow the news today, you will see that they are still by the cabal to change the story. Steve, how aware is Trump of the extraterrestrial existence? COBRA, I would say he is not as aware as Hillary Clinton. Steve, but he will be up to speed once he is inaugurated? COBRA, yes, once he takes office he will be briefed on this to a certain degree, as much as 2. It suits the controllers, if of course, certain changes have not happened by that time. Louisa, President Obama stated that he would pardon Hillary Clinton. Aren't we putting the cart before the horse? Don't we need to have a conviction first? So that is very telling where things might go. What do you think, COBRA? COBRA, no matter what he says at this moment, he is not a key player. What is happening behind the scenes is the Jesuits playing their agenda, and of course, behind them the Archons playing their agenda. Louisa, so that is why people were saying that Trump is a Jesuit puppet, and you are confirming that? COBRA, yes, but he is not high in the Jesuit structure, but his policies are directly engineered to a great degree by the Jesuits. He received Jesuit education, and some of his contacts in the mafia are directly controlled by the Jesuits. Also, the higher dimensional Archons who are using this situation to engineer hatred, to engineer division, and I would also say that the light forces have their own plans with Trump. Louisa, oh really? Can you tell us anything about that? COBRA, not much at this moment, but I would say the situation is quite undecided at this moment, and many interesting things may happen. I will guarantee that they will happen, because there are many factors involved. Among them is the free will of Trump, which is one of the factors. I would say that he could be influenced easily by various factions from behind the scenes, either positive or negative. He is not making independent decisions in those situations. He doesn't have very formulated views on many key issues here, so there are people or situations or factions that could influence this in different ways. Steve, COBRA, can you tell us any of the plans of the cabal behind the scenes, how they will now try to influence the results of the election? COBRA, yes, there was some news today about some indecision about the electoral vote. And this can be engineered, a certain procedure that can be taken legally or semi-legally. And of course the cabal tries to exploit it. From the perspective of the resistance movement, the whole system, the way the election is engineered is not fair and does not reflect the will of the people of any election. Louisa, right, and Trump Angela Assange has been publicly stating that it is all rigged, so it's not surprising, and I do feel this escalation. And in fact we now have a sister blog on WordPress called the Canary Chronicles blog, which features many WikiLeaks releases and other information, some of which is not readily available and also includes original publications. Steve, COBRA, what is the situation now with the buildup of NATO troops along the Russian border, now that Trump won the election? COBRA, the situation is that Trump has good relations with Russia and Putin because Trump policies are not so aggressive outside of US borders, so I would say that Trump being elected is better for international geopolitical situation and worse for United States situation. Steve, so we can take it at face value then? 3. COBRA, yes. Steve, and what about other relations to China, and do you think Trump has said that he will improve relations with other countries around the world? COBRA, already he has sided with Japan against China. Steve, right, that's not good though? COBRA, I would say that he doesn't have a consistent international policy at the moment. And I would say that his advisors are influenced by various factions. There is a battle between various parts of the negative factions influencing his advisors at the moment. Louisa, okay, thank you for that election update, COBRA, and I wanted to move on to the Pleiadian issues, starting with your recent update. Louisa, the native prophecies are talking about the Star Brothers returning at this time. What is the relationship with the native indigenous population and the Pleiades? COBRA, there are many extraterrestrial races which have been incarnated as Native American people. Many came from the Sirius star system and many of them came from the Pleiadian star system. And they were aware of this source of their origins for many incarnations, but many of them gradually lost that connection, unfortunately. Louisa, at this time, the Black Snake prophecy, as we know, is related to the North Dakota pipeline that goes through the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation. What is your understanding of the prophecy in terms of likelihood of success in building the pipeline, signaling the end of humanity? Can you comment on this? COBRA, it will not be the end of humanity because the light forces are counteracting the harmful energetic effects of this. Louisa, do you think they are going to succeed with this pipeline? COBRA, it is possible, but the light forces are working strongly against it. There is a battle right now. Louisa, I have asked the ambassador about this issue and his opinion was that the bank in Norway is being pressured to stop its investment activities that pertain to the NDPL. Clearly, stopping the funding of this will stop the construction. Do you have any comments on that? COBRA, that sounds like a great idea. Steve, is there any agenda that is behind the pipeline that we may not be aware of at this time? COBRA, okay, I would say there is one angle to discuss, and I would say that there is a ley line that goes along that pipeline, and that pipeline also tries to suppress that ley line energetically, so that it suppresses the energy body of the Earth. Steve, so, it's a further blockage of the ley lines? COBRA, yes. Louisa, COBRA, how are we doing on ascension right now, in your opinion? 4. COBRA, I would say so. There is some progress, but not enough. Louisa, in your update, You mentioned setting a new tachyon membrane around the Earth. What is that for, and can you explain why it is necessary? COBRA, the Pleiadians and other light forces are building a special membrane at a certain location inside the Earth-Moon orbit. The purpose of that membrane is to cut off the tentacles of the ultrabot octopus entity away from the head, which will diminish the power of the entity and will drastically speed up the clearing of the solar system beyond that point. Then it will be easier for the light forces to proceed towards the surface of the planet. Louisa, thank you. Disabling the plasmascalar weapons, are they doing that in conjunction, as it seems they are related? COBRA, they are related, but it's a different operation and they have had moderate success lately with the satellite. Louisa, is Elon Musk really working for the light? COBRA, yes. Believe it or not. Louisa, what about Julian Assange? COBRA, he is also. Louisa, are these biochips the same as the E3 implants? COBRA, no, I will explain. You have in various dimensions, various densities, you have different controlling mechanisms. On the physical plane there are the physical biochips, which were starting to be developed already in World War I, and their development was complete in World War II in Nazi Germany in concentration camps. German industrial giant Siemens was developing those and producing those, and they were put into the vaccines, and at the end of World War II, a very advanced vaccination campaign started globally. All kinds of additives, there are many kinds of vaccinations being developed and deployed. I would say that these vaccination campaigns are still ongoing since then. It did not stop, it started then without a break. COBRA, what happened is that those biochips have been upgraded constantly, and there were newer versions which were released in 1983 and a very strong one in 1996, and there was a very fast development of those biochips in 1996 and 1999 because there was the Archon invasions and many Dracos and Reptilians and other races came to this time and the underground bases and gave their technology and their version of the biochips. The resistance movement has been able to remove most of this, but unfortunately not all of this. They are working on this now, and one aspect is clearing quite nice and one aspect is not clearing at all at the moment. And then we have the plasma implants and the E3 implants, which are located in exactly the same position. I have described this in my blog. The locations are the frontal lobe of the brain above the eyes, and one is a little above the navel, and there is also usually one or two implants on the back side of the head, the location of the medulla oblongata, and those implants in the back of the head control the reptilian brain or the fight or flight response. 5. Louisa, COBRA, are these implants responsible for the miserable headaches that people are getting? COBRA, yes, exactly, when the biochip is activated or when the implants are clearing. People have strong, nasty headaches sometimes. There is no medical explanation for this. They are triggered, many of them are dormant until people reach a certain vibrational frequency level and they are sleeper cells and then body, and then they activate. They are trigger activated when people reach a certain vibrational frequency or they begin to become too dangerous for the matrix. That's why they are usually activated. Louisa, what can we do about it? COBRA, there are clearing protocols that can help. I have explained some of them already on my blog, and there are therapists who can assist not in removing them but to decrease in their efficiency. Louisa, what is the triggering mechanism? COBRA, the scalar network which measures the vibrational frequency of everybody on the planet, and when it reaches a certain threshold level it triggers the alarm, and the alarm alerts the central computer which activates the implants from a distance. Louisa, and they are aware of everybody who gets activated, I presume? COBRA, yes, of course. Steve, and this is all going to be deactivated as soon as this network is brought down, is that correct? COBRA, It will be completely cleared when the scalar network is cleared. It's part of the same structure. Steve, and the infrasound is part of the same structure? Cobra, yes, of course. What the infrasound does, it lowers the vibration frequency of, especially emotional vibrations. It suppresses people's will to fight, suppresses people's will to create their own destiny. Steve, what about people who are attacked with this while they are in bed sleeping? Cobra, there are certain resonance points, interference points where infrasound is stronger. It is advisable to change the location or to move to other room or shift the bed. Periodically even. Some will have to readjust to this, and there are some anti-scalar devices that can help a little bit with this. There are some technologies on my blog on the Tachinus website. There are certain laser devices which can help with this. Louisa, but what about frequencies? I find playing my piano and surrounding myself with the string vibrations and overtones of the harmonics is very healing for me. Personally, Cobra, harmonious sound is a very good antidote to infrasound. Certain resonance frequency with physical instruments and positive music is a very good antidote to this. Steve, laughing and happiness frequencies? Cobra, of course. 6. Steve, David Wilcott talks about a solar event that will make a big change to the DNA of humanity and consciousness to humans. Is this the same event that you are talking about? Cobra, yes, exactly. What he talks about, the solar event, or what Corey Good talks about, is actually the galactic pulse triggering the sun. Every 26,000 years, there is a galactic pulse which triggers all the stars in the galaxy in a certain way. Also, of course, when this galactic superwave reaches our solar system, it will trigger our physical sun, in a way that Corey Good and other are talking about. It's part of the event that I am describing. It is not only the activity of our physical sun but is connected to the activity to the galactic central sun and on the drastic changes on this planet and on the removal of the cabal, reset of the financial system, and the process of full disclosure and everything that is connected with that. Steve, now with the CME we can measure the energy coming from the sun that we know arrives here in a few days. Can we measure this pulse from the galactic central sun? Cobra, yes, there are instruments that are monitoring the galactic central sun. It is a little bit more difficult because that object is much further away from us, but it's possible. Louisa, thank you Cobra. Can you tell us what the status is with Planet X or Nibiru? Cobra, okay, first, Planet X is not Nibiru. The whole concept of Nibiru is intentional disinformation which was released by the cabal to confuse people. There is no object in our solar system that will cross the Earth orbit and that would disturb the situations here. That does not exist. Planet X is officially an undiscovered planet, in the outer outskirts of the solar system, which was and still is inhabited below the surface with underground bases and the source of the resistance movement. Louisa, oh, so is this their backup station or main base? Cobra, this is their origin, and one of their most important bases. Louisa, I see. Recently in Science News there was an image shown of Saturn which had changed in color to a blue color. Scientists claimed they did not know what caused this. Can you comment on this? Cobra, they do understand it, but this news was not so widely spread. Actually, what is happening is the Saturn orbit the Sun. One orbit is about 30 years, and Saturn, like every other planet in the solar system, has seasons, and I see right now the North Pole of Saturn summertime. And when it is summertime the temperature is higher and the color of the aerosols in the atmosphere changes, and this is why the color of the famous North Pole hexagon on Saturn has intensified and changed color. Louisa, thank you for commenting on that. Ironically, they are so casual about releasing information about finding life on Mars, and it seems to be released in drips and drabs. which was what Captain Randy Kramer had told us was the plan on our GoldFish report. Number 53, on psychology of disclosure. Is that how you see this issue of Mars unfolding? COBRA, actually what was happening there were secret negotiations between secret space program factions in the cabal, and two of the factions of the secret space program said to the cabal, if you do not disclose the situation on Mars we will do it. And this led the 7. cabal into this limited disclosure which is happening now. Louisa, okay, but Corey Good was saying that there was an agreement for disclosure to happen over the next 50 to 100 years. COBRA, I will not agree with that. It was not an agreement. It was part of the manipulation of the cabal which wants to enforce this agreement, and it is not true that the Chinese faction agreed to that. It is not true. It is what the cabal wanted, this is what they proposed. This is what they threatened needs to happen. There was no formal agreement and acknowledgement of this. Louisa, right, in your previous interviews you have made it very clear that there needs to be full and complete disclosure. COBRA, yes, of course, and that there shouldn't be any of these kinds of delays, and even Randy Kramer suggested the military had a 10-year plan for disclosure which you felt was still unacceptable. COBRA, no, it is unacceptable. You see there is certain positive factions within the military that are afraid that full immediate disclosure will create too much panic and too much instability and chaos, and the military is afraid of chaos because they cannot control it. But you see there is good chaos and there is bad chaos. When full disclosure happens it will create a good chaos, chaos that will create a new society which will be based on truth and transparency. And of course, when this happens there will be a certain period of chaos and the society and the system will have to adjust to a new reality. It is inevitable, it will happen one way or the other, whether you want it or not. Louisa, how are we supposed to raise consciousness though if we keep getting attacked? COBRA, I would say that the energy field of the weakened light workers and light warriors is a reflection of the galactic war in space. The galactic war that is happening in your very energy field. You need to connect with the light, focus on the light, work for the light and carry on. Louisa, I hope everybody can. It's difficult sometimes, one can really feel overburdened by it. Like today for instance, it's 11:11, you would think it would be more balanced and there were many people going crazy today. COBRA, people are going crazy simply because there were so many layers of mind programming, especially in the United States, that all those layers are being triggered now. All at once. Louisa, wow. What is going to happen in the US right now? People are so resistant to any divergence from their view of reality. It's very tough trying to wake people up. COBRA, the United States was a country with the greatest potential, enormous potential, I would say, and far more than most people imagine, and it has been suppressed more deeply than most countries on the planet. And as we approach closer to the event, and I would say when we will be very close to the event, there will be a huge and fast acceleration of consciousness in the United States that will be super fast. But not yet, we are not there yet. Steve, so, the consciousness of humanity plays a role in the acceleration of the event? COBRA, yes, of course. 8. Steve, so, just for clarification, does the central sun react to our development of consciousness and will react by bringing the event at the right time, is that correct? COBRA, yes, exactly. The galactic central sun is the home of the galactic entity, the pleroma, and it is a living being, and we are living inside that living being. We are living inside of the pleroma, we are part of that being. The galactic being interacts with all solar systems as cells within the galactic body, and we are one cell of the galactic body. And goes back to the galactic central sun and responds back. The event will happen through the people, we are the channels for the event, We are the transmitters of the event. It can't bypass us, it's not possible. It goes through our energy field, to our physical bodies, to our environment, to our society. The only interaction comes from the direction within humanity and the galactic central. When this connection is strong enough, then it will happen, and luckily we are working on this. Louisa, Adrius has gotten his internet connection out on location near Standing Rock Indian Reservation, and the ambassador has now joined us, and I had a question for you, Ambassador. What is the status of, or what do you know about the funding regarding this North Dakota pipeline project? Ambassador, right now we are having people putting pressure on the Norwegian bank here to cut the funding. If you cut the funding, you will see the police disappearing very quickly. And I had another option: the people hadn't sold candies to the police officers too, but what's happening right now is we are strangling the funding for the pipeline. And we will see what's going to happen. Louisa, you have stated that the cabal has invested a huge amount of money in this right now, so what is their incentive financially to stop this? Ambassador, there are certain treaties that Norway has which they have signed in relation to the money, which is called. It cannot be used against humanity, it cannot be used as a war tool, but what they are using right now is for the military suppression of the indigenous people, that is against the Constitution and against the regulations of that asset. And that oil company and bank company is owned by the government, so right now people are putting pressure, as we are speaking, some of our people and others, to cut the funding and force the bank out of the business, and so when that funding disappears, they will have no incentive to continue with the construction. Louisa, okay, thank you, Ambassador. I would like to focus now on the Pleiadian connection, since COBRA has stated in past interviews that he is Pleiadian incarnated on Earth, and he retains his full memory of his past and is here as on a mission as part of the resistance movement for the liberation of the planet, and Adrius we know is Pleiadian from New Lyra, and is here on Earth. He arrived here in a mean ship that had crashed over the Nevada desert and was held for 2 years at Area 51, experimented on, and was finally permitted to leave, but rather chose to remain here on a mission, and has been here for 44 years. Having said that, I wanted to give both COBRA and Adrius the opportunity to ask each other questions as they come up. So let me begin by asking about the Pleiades. Adri, are the two of you neighbors? Adrius Sarah orbits Alcyon, it's a star that's nearby us within the same system. 9. Atlas is the star that New Lyra orbits, so we are neighbors, we are within the same system, we are different clans but we are of the same people. Steve, how easily can you reach Ecother by traveling? How quickly can you get to Ecother? Adrius, our vehicles actually fly at about 3.16 billion miles per second beyond the speed of light using photoradiant drives. How fast do you think we can travel from one star to the next within that small system? Steve, pretty fast, so you are neighbors then. Adri, yes. Louisa, I am going to ask you both this question. What is the relationship with the Pleiadians at this time on Earth? And how much, COBRA, of the resistance movement are made up of Pleiadians? COBRA, there are quite many of the resistance movement are originally Pleiadian. Many of them were trapped in the quarantine when quarantine was closed. Some of them managed to escape, but some of them are still here. Louisa, is there a relationship between Pleiadians and the inner Earth civilization? COBRA, of course, the resistance movement lives inside the Earth, in the inner Earth. Adrius, the resistance movement, are you referring to the Telos? COBRA, they're connected, actually, the Agartha network is 44 hours 45 minutes and part of the Agartha network is also the resistance movement. Adrius, I have been very much alone here for the last 42 years, trying to help people as much as I can, and it has been a struggle. being just one being and to accomplish as much that needs to be accomplished. So working with our people, we have fleets of people that are doing good out there, stopping asteroids and stopping conflict from reaching this planet, but there is only so much they can do. There are treaties in place that prevent direct intervention here. A treaty of which I broke to be here. Because no one else is willing to come to this place. For reasons you all could very much agree with. COBRA, yes, I believe that. There are not many people that would like to come here. And it is not easy for the Pleiadians to adjust to the vibrational frequency here. Adrius, it took me 24 years just to learn to speak English. Our brains work differently, and English is a whole different direction of thought process than we are used to. So it took me a long time to master English, to understand the society from the inside out, from the ground level, to understand what all of you are going through, and to live through it with you. I can empathize with all of these situations going on in the world, because I have seen it for the last 42 years since my release. So I have been watching the people, watching how they do things, how they interact, how they war, how they disagree, and how they love. I have seen all spectrums of people here. How they interact with one another is a fascinating thing, considering the level of slavery that is ever present here on this planet. What we are here to do is to create free society, to help the people to rise up and do the right thing, and to stand as a united front. We want all of these people to rise up and stand up for themselves. All of them are leaders. Every single one of them is capable of being a leader for themselves. They don't need to rely on one singular unit to 10. Control the masses. They need to rely on themselves, the hearts, their communities, to stand up with love and compassion. And they can solve these problems peacefully, without war. You don't need weapons for this, you need your voices. People need to speak up for themselves, because if they don't, the laws here dictate that in your silence you agree. Tacit procuration it's called. If you don't speak up, these people push you around. And they will keep doing it until you do something about it. Since no one is doing anything about it, that is why we are here, to try to make a difference. To try to teach the people what they already knew a long time ago, but it's been untaught in this society. The programming of this society has untrained these people to stand up for themselves. It's broken their willpower. It's broken their resolve. The people have become so indoctrinated in slavery that they know nothing else. It's like an animal being stuck in a cage and being raised in a cage, and you open the door for the first time for that animal. And they don't know what to do. All they have ever known is a cage. They are afraid to step out of the cage into the light, into the grass, into the green pastures. We are here to help teach the people how to take those baby steps out of the cage into the sunlight, so they can finally learn to be free and stand up for themselves. Louisa, Adrius, you had originally come here with a companion by the name of Ariane Haas, who had unique markings on her forearm. Could you explain what those markings are? Adrius, to describe those markings in English would be very difficult, but what I can say is that it is many volumes of information describing our system, describing even the very tilt of Lyra. I could diagram the coordinates of Lyra at the time that those tattoos she had drawn onto her arms, and exactly where she was standing on the planet when she did. So there are only certain times of the year when those symbols line up with constellations in the skies that are of New Lyra. Several of them are constellations, others are ideas of society such as meditation, healing, how to focus on a star growing at your center. Another is a trade route of Era. On Era we have a very large mountain range on one of the continents. It is so high that it is hard to traverse on foot, so when you are traveling on foot or vehicle, you fly or you walk around this mountain, and there is a path you have to take due to the forests there on the land. They become very thick in certain places. It is an old trade route that when we first arrived to the planet we found it and terraformed it. And we used to be able to transport supplies to our major city, from one side of the continent to the other. Louisa, when I speak to both of you, Cobra and Adrius, you both seem to have a very long memory. So, could you tell us how old are you? Adrius, I can only estimate my age. I estimate only based on as far back as I can remember the last time that I descended here. So, I go back 1,494 approximate years. But that is only since my last descension. I haven't died. Louisa, Cobra, you seem to have a very, very extensive memory as well. I believe I recall. You stated in an interview you did that you didn't forget your memory when you incarnated here. Cobra, no, I remember all my last lifetimes. I remember the vast majority of my history. 11. Not the small details but the major things, yes. Louisa, is this Akashic type memory? Cobra, it's a living memory, I would say. Louisa, okay, thank you. Now, Cobra has a weekly meditation that he has organized and you know, Cobra, you have done such an incredible job doing all of this and I know it didn't happen overnight. Adrius is also in the process of teaching meditation to people as well, so he can teach people to raise their vibrational frequency so they can ascend. Could you explain that a little bit? Adrius, well, we meditate on a star growing at our center. We meditate on a real, living, breathing star growing at our center. We feel its heat, its radiance, its strength, how hot it gets. We focus on the children we used to be, we focus on everything about those children within that star. When we do this, we bring back that youth within all of our cells. We increase the photorandionic vibration within the quarks that make up our entire body. And what that does is it increases the strength of the mitochondria within your cells, that's allowing the proper replication at youthful levels of metabolism and proper levels of vitamins, proteins, collagen, hyaluronic acid, NADs and minerals, all elements that your body needs. Louisa, what I would like to ask now is how the two of you might be able to work together to help each other's mission? I think one of the functions I can fulfill in my role is to bring people together for mutual benefits. Adrius, that's a good question. We are all on our own paths here trying to help the people, but as a united front we can do so much more. Louisa, Cobra, is there a way you can give Adri support? Cobra, yes, if he needs something and it's in my power to do it, I will do it. Adrius, that would be wonderful. Louisa, okay, the next question is for both Cobra and Adrius. We have heard the name Simjace when referring to Pleiadians. We are familiar with this name mainly through Billy Meyer, who claims Simjace was a primary Pleiadian contact throughout his life. Can either of you or both of you comment on what that name represents? Cobra, Simjace is one of the famous Pleiadians who has been deeply involved in the planetary liberation process for many millennia. She was very active in ancient Egypt, and the last few decades she has contacted a few of the contactees. One was Billy Meyer and also Fred Bell. And she is one of the key Pleiadian contact persons for this planet. Adrius, she is also my clan leader. I am of clan Simjace. Louisa, okay, can you explain what that means to us? Adrius, she gave rise to many children who give rise to many children, just like a tribe. She resides between Era and New Lyra, she goes between the planets. And my clan is from her line. Louisa, how do they know who to contact here? 12. Adrius, I have spoken of a cosmic phone book in some of my earlier broadcasts. Many months ago. People need to know who they intend to contact and Sumion's frequency, just like Sumion's phone number. To dial Sumion's phone number, it would be very reckless to dial Sumion's phone number and ask someone you don't know for answers. So, focusing on the name, as people focus on me sometimes and send messages to me telepathically. I hear them when they do this and I do respond. You know Sam Jace. She can hear you if you communicate with her with that intention. You have to focus on the resonance of her name. The resonance of our names are directly correlated to our DNA resonance, our vibratory resonance. Where people here choose random names for their children, it's not a custom where we come from. Our names are given to us based on the sound our vibratory resonance makes. Louisa, interesting, it's like music in a sense. Adrius, yes. Louisa, please continue. Adrius, so as I was saying, Semjazi or Semiasi, is really the pronunciation of her name. She has been around for a very, very long time. She had many interactions with this planet. She has had many interactions with others, she has been an ambassador, she has been a peacemaker, she has been a pilot, she fought in wars, she was a brave warrior of our people. And at this time is very active in the Pleiadian community. She is very old. And she has been doing what she does for a very long time. She has a lot of love and compassion, and all she wants to do, like the rest of us, is to teach those people that don't know any better to understand their true potential, and to do it peacefully in a way too, where they are not using their potential for bad. We are trying to teach people to be responsible with the knowledge that we give them. It's just like Oppenheimer and Einstein, E equals mc squared, and you see what that did to this planet with just one little piece of knowledge, what that turned this whole world into. If we give these people here technologies beyond their comprehension, and all they have are intentions of war, for instance something so simple as photonic drive that can be turned into a weapon very easily, which would cause more devastation than any nuclear weapon on this planet. We don't want to hand the people technologies that will enable them to destroy themselves. That's not our purpose here. So, Semiasi, she understands these principles. And we still learn from her teachings to teach others properly. She taught us to teach others to use the knowledge we give them wisely, but we don't teach people beyond the points where they are ready to learn. We weigh people out on a scale, and I describe it in English on a level system. For instance, level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The first couple of levels are more common here nowadays. We find more level zeros here on this planet than anything else. People that don't know anything outside of the bounds of what their society has taught them, or outside of the bounds of their educational system, their politics, their religion. They don't know of our existence, or if they do, they don't believe it. Rising in level requires a level of acceptance, more than knowing the answers. Accepting the answers, knowing in your heart and soul that those answers are true. So, someone who rises to a level 1 understands that the militaries here and the Cabal are 13. Ruining this world. They understand there is a chance of martial law in the United States, or a major war imminent on this planet. They understand about certain natural disasters that could potentially happen very soon, which could cause massive devastation to the people. Then you have level 2s who understand beyond this society. They understand things about us. We have level 3s who know who I am and know, let's say, who COBRA is, and understand fully where we come from and why we are here. Level 3s are more common in some of the audiences I have spoken to on internet radio. Level 4s understand our full history, they understand my full history, they understand a much broader picture, a larger spectrum. Level 5s understand the very fabric of what makes this universe tick, and the thing about all these levels is that people can have elements of each one of these levels, although not complete, but still understand some slightly larger concepts. I see some scientists that understand certain mechanics of a level 5, but they still don't have the understanding and acceptance of the very fabric of what makes this universe tick. And they still lack level 3 and 2. Louisa, COBRA, do you have any comments on that? COBRA, I am not classifying in any way the level of people on this planet. Louisa, well, are there people who are ready to ascend right now on this planet? Adrius, all people can ascend at any time, they just have to learn to do it and be willing to do it and do it willingly of their own volition. Louisa, well, COBRA, with respect to the biochips and implants, how easy is it for people to ascend at this time? COBRA, I would say it is possible but not very easy at this moment. For somebody who is not part of the matrix system it is possible, but the situation will improve drastically as we approach the event and after the event. The number of people who will be capable of ascending will rise exponentially very fast after we come closer to the breakthrough, and especially after the breakthrough there will be mass ascension process going on. Louisa, there have been many reports about many different kinds of ships being spotted near the sun, which is a transit gate. What's the status, COBRA, about what is going on above our heads right now? Could you give us any information on that? COBRA, there is a lot of activity in the solar system, especially the last few weeks. This activity has increased. One part of this is the final operations to clear the solar system, and this is connected with this other membrane that you asked about before. And this activity will continue to increase until the solar system is liberated. Louisa, okay, and you had said that the Pleiadians were regaining territory inside our solar system to previous levels back in May. We had lost, which you had said on your blog, and people were upset about, but you were telling the truth, but now it is a positive development. COBRA, yes, the light forces including the Pleiadians are regaining territory, and I would say when this setback happened, it will result in much greater progress later when this is finally resolved. The light forces are learning, and they are learning fast. And they learn from mistakes, and they are going to be much more effective in their assistance in the 14 planetary liberation process. Louisa, okay, thank you. Let me just clarify something you had said earlier when we were talking about these biochips, and you had said they were placed in the frontal lobe. Are they placed in or near the pineal gland? COBRA, not exactly, they are placed in two positions above the eyes or next to the eyes. Not in the pineal gland, but they are creating a resonance field which influences the pineal gland. I have a picture on my blog, the position of the implant is there. Louisa, now, what about the Aldebarans? There has been some discussion that perhaps they are involved in current problems that we are facing right now? COBRA, I would not agree with that. No. There was a problem there some time ago, around the time of World War II, but this has been resolved. Steve, COBRA, you said on your blog that the positive extraterrestrials would not allow a major conflict to happen on Earth. Is that correct? COBRA, they will not allow full-scale nuclear war, they will not allow a global world war. 3. That will not be tolerated. Louisa, what about President Putin, is he the wild card here? COBRA, he is not a wild card, he is part of one of the basic foundations of the plan. He has been contacted by the Pleiadians a few years ago. He had a deep spiritual experience, and he has advisors who are of Pleiadian origin right now for his strategy. Louisa, oh, very good. What about this race of which I will share a picture of? I had received some information about who was involved in helping Putin. I don't know if this is true, but I would like to know what your opinion is of this. Adrius, that is what you would call an Aldebaran, not a tall white. Louisa, okay, COBRA, are you familiar with this race? COBRA, yes, they're connected with the Aldebaran star system. Louisa, okay, and why are they here, COBRA, do you know? COBRA, Actually, this is part of the Pleiadian race and they are here to help, to assist in the planetary liberation, that's why they're here. Louisa, and, what about these chromatophores implants on her torso? Is this spell work of some kind? COBRA, it is actually a very advanced technology which interacts with the environment. It's not artificial intelligence as people know it. It's like a living glass organism with interacts with the environment and translates signals to the being which wears this and assists in working in that environment because for beings of that nature, planetary surface is a hostile environment and those beings needs to be careful how they move around here. Louisa, okay, would you say that this helps them maintain their higher dimensional frequencies, would you say? 15. COBRA, yes. Louisa, okay, and does this serve as some kind of bioprotection? COBRA, yes, also. Louisa, from pathogens and things of that nature of this surface? COBRA, yes, also. Louisa, are they working with the bases in Antarctica? COBRA, yes, there are many Pleiadian bases on Antarctica and there is much activity going on there. Some of this has been reported in alternative media and the Pleiadians are dealing with that situation quite extensively right now. Louisa, right. There have been reports that Secretary of State Kerry was on his way to Antarctica during the US presidential election, for some reason had to go there as such an important time. Can you give us any information on that? COBRA, there were some strategic meetings of the cabal taking place there far away from the attention of the media about what to do if Trump gets elected and things of that nature. Louisa, right, but we previously had Alfred Lambremont Weber on the GoldFish report, where he disclosed that the DARPA time travel program pre-identified all the presidents since after JFK, and of course Trump was pre-identified as well. Even The Simpsons cartoon had predicted a Trump presidency, even though that is not the kind of resource I attribute much validity to. But it was interesting that even Andrew Basiago was also pre-identified to become a US president as part of this program that involved the Mars jump room programs. I will ask you both about this idea of timelines and whether, when they go into these programs, are they actually all visualizing the same timeline? COBRA, okay, there is a huge amount of disinformation about timelines and time travel. Time travel is really not as simple as people think. It's not like that you go into a machine and then you come out in a different time zone or year. Time is a vector which is determined in the direction between the source and the primary anomaly, and the time vector is not just something that you can bend by your will, or I would say it takes a very high level of consciousness to create time loops. And all those projects were actually attempting to do it and they were not successful in reality. Louisa, okay, Adrius, can you comment on that as well? Adrius, yes, I do very much so. Well, to understand how time works you have to understand frequency, photoradionic waves and quarks, and why that works and how that works. There are many dimensions of frequency. And what time is merely just the perception of frequency increase. A person's perception of time is their experience of frequency. The faster frequency goes, the faster time seems to pass. Now, to manipulate time, you have to also understand that every time still exists at the same time within its own frequency, like a radio channel. You have, let's say on radio stations you have channel 100, 101, 102, 103 and so on, and between those channels you have micro frequencies such as 101.1, 101.2 and so on, and you have even smaller frequencies between 16. Those that designate different channels. Well, each channel works in multiple dimensions. Let's say you have 4 dimensions of frequency which dictate coordinated within a specific time. So to physically travel back in time, to a time like 1960, you have to Understand that 1960 does still exist, it hasn't gone anywhere. What has gone somewhere is your frequency. Your frequency increased beyond the frequency of that specific slice of time, as you say. So, as frequency increases, so does the perception of time. Variables rule out within a timeline, but those variables all exist within micro slices between each frame of frequency increase and or decrease. Time present, past and future all exist at the same time, in the same bubble but in different frequencies in different layers, very similar to that of an onion. So, to travel back in time, if you had a device that would modify the frequency of all of the quarks in your body to a specific frequency matching that of a time frequency of another time, you could physically travel in time, and that's how our mechanics work. So you could go back to 1960 and you knew the frequency range of that particular time. The Schumann frequency, as you all say, is the measure of the overall frequency as an average. Where the frequency of, let's say, the planet and the universe stands, the frequency is always gradually increasing very slowly. Although as we enter a photonic belt, a ring of high vibration which orbits in a wobble around the center of this particular galaxy, the frequency increase is causing an increase in the speed of which time seems to pass. So if you want to travel back in time, you have to modify the frequency of all of the quarks in your body and frequency of the device itself to go with you, or you're stuck. Louisa, thank you for that address. Can we travel back in time to change this primary anomaly? The implants and the electromagnetic grid or matrix that COBRA is talking about? Is that possible? Adrius, you have to understand that if you go back to change certain things, as bad as events may seem, it changes a lot of other things that you may not want to happen. Good things will become bad things and bad things will become good things. Things will swap places. You cause changes in variables that you don't predict to happen, so if you change one event, it will change many events. And the world you knew will be no longer good, bad, or indifferent. Everything that's happened in your past has happened for a reason and put you exactly where you need to be now. If you go back to change that, you will never be the same. Louisa, so, for instance, if JFK wasn't assassinated, I wouldn't have been born. Something like that? Adrius, or a lot of other people would not have been born. Or other events would have changed to where many would have died and others would be alive that were dead. Steve, COBRA, has to leave soon. I just want to ask COBRA, is there anything else you would like to say before you leave? COBRA, I would like to say that we have to carry on. We have to persist. We have to fight for our vision. And we will be successful. I know it's all taking too long for all of us, but the outcome is determined. The main positive timeline has been secured. And this main positive timeline includes full disclosure, financial reset, arrest of the cabal, the event, first contact, all those things are secured for us. And thank you very much. 17. Louisa, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you will join us again. COBRA, yes, of course, I will join you again. Louisa, thank you so much.